Hey guys, I'm Aussie Expat. This is Aussie Expat Watches, and today we're going to be reviewing the FXD.
Just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression. Could try to play it, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy.
Oh, and I just wanted to say, please join the Discord. It's in a link down below. It's just a place where we get to chat. You know, if I'm not doing videos, I'm still talking about watches. I'm just talking about it in Discord along with the rest of you guys. We have a lot of fun in there, a lot of jokes, a lot of memes, and a lot of hot takes I would never put on video for sure. So that's free chat down below just on Discord. You can remain completely anonymous connecting in with Discord. Yeah, you do need an email to sign up, but I never get that. Nobody else sees that either. Okay guys, so here we are in lovely Las Vegas in autumn, or fall as the Americans call it, and just look at this park. It's gorgeous. I mean, look at this tree, the color on it. So these are all cherry blossoms. This is just an absolutely stunning park, gardens park over here. Sorry if it's making you dizzy spinning around. I just have to show you the trees. We can look at them while I talk. Okay, sorry, it's been a while since my last update. Just work and life's just been busy. Nothing catastrophous or anything like that. Just a little busy, and you know, this is my hobby, so I'm sharing with you when I can. Anyway, so this thing has been on my wrist for 2 months, almost 2 months straight since I got it. I think it was announced like maybe 3 months ago, and we should talk about that. But just straight up, this is a fantastic watch. It's a really, really fantastic watch. My first impressions of the FXD in blue, the MN, I think that was released 2021. Yeah, I think so, 2021. I already had the blue Pelagos, so it really didn't interest me that much. And one of the most common things to say about the FXD is that you lose one of the best things about the Pelagos 42, the original Pelagos, and that's the bracelet. And you do, I do love my Pelagos in blue. With the MN, the first FXD in blue, one of the problems I also had was that, honestly, the color. I do like blue, but trying to get straps that match the hue of blue, and you're very limited. Like, you can't put a green strap on the blue watch. You know what I mean? So having a baseline of black is just a huge improvement in terms of versatility. And so that was very, very appealing when this came out. Now everyone's all like, oh, just another color variation. I think it's an important one. The other thing that's different that makes this, you know, a big thumbs up from me versus the last one is that the numbers go in the correct direction. Honestly, my first impression of the previous one was it just felt like that little bit too busy. And while this is almost exactly the same, I don't think I'm a hypocrite. Having the numbers go in the same direction that I'm used to on a diver's bezel is just, you know, it just means there's just slightly less cognitive load, you know what I mean? It's sort of like my impression of the left-hand GMT, that really just putting that the date window on the left as well as, you know, flipping the case around was just like that one level too much. Like, you've just gone that too far in terms of what I want from a watch. There is a good YouTuber who did talk about sort of the aspects of watches, and you know, there's sort of watches that sort of have a unique look versus ones that are boring. And he was saying that this one is sort of somewhere in the middle, and I would say this is actually just a boring looking watch. It's not, there's nothing really crazy about it. I mean, it's got a diver bezel that goes the right way. There's no date window. It's in black. The fact that the spring bars are fixed is not something you can actually see. So it's not really a visual element. It for sure is a design element, and I do appreciate, I'll talk about that. But it's not actually something that affects the looks or the usability that much. I mean, apart from not having a bracelet. So I've been looking for a Tudor watch, another Tudor watch, for quite a while now. I sort of wanted something that was a little bit more purposely driven towards hiking. You know, I do a lot of hiking out here in Las Vegas. We go out to the desert, and I wanted something that was a little bit more rugged, something I didn't have to care about too much. I feel that having a bracelet is okay, but in some ways I'd prefer not to have a bracelet when hiking. It's just one less thing to get scuffed up and damaged. And honestly, sometimes out in the desert here, and mind the crushing leaves, you get the beautiful color up here, but there's tons of dead leaves on the ground, so please mind the sound. The problem is like I'll wear a sun sleeve or something like that, and I'll need to put the watch on the outside of that. Unless it's something like glide lock, it's not going to happen. Now the Pelagos 42 does have the, you know, a glide lock type capability, but honestly, once you go into that sort of like springy area of tension, which gives you about half of the range on that clasp, it's way too tight. The reality is the way that you have a bracelet is that it's set up so that it's, you know, slightly bigger than your wrist, right? So it's actually a bracelet and not like a steel rubber band. But once you have those spring sections on the Pelagos clasp, on the original, it's really uncomfortable, honestly. I'm not used to having that much tension around my wrist. Even when I wear a strap that's a little elasticy like this one, I'm trying not to have it like cinching down on my wrist. And I accidentally did actually like cinch down on my wrist a little bit too much with one of these sort of elastic NATOs. And by the end of the day, my tendons were killing me. Like it hurt just to move my arm. It was like agony. So the reality is that a bracelet is okay for hiking, but not ideal for me. I would prefer you know, a strap that I can freely adjust. Now, of course, I can put a strap on almost any watch, but I've been looking at the actual way that the straps and bracelets engage with various watches, and on a luxury watch, this is a bigger consideration, because if you mess this up, you're losing a multi-$1,000 watch potentially, right? So this is something to pay attention to. And the experiment that really got me thinking about this was when I put my 11 series Submariner bracelet on my Batgirl, the GMT. And I noticed that the end links were different, and where the holes lined up were slightly different, but not different enough that I couldn't get it to work if I used the pins for the GMT with the Submariner bracelet, but for the GMT case. So what was interesting to me was the revelation was that sorry for hitting the mic there. What was interesting revelation for me was that the Submariner pins, the lug pins, geez, I don't even remember what they're called properly. Those pins, the spring bars are way bigger on the Submariner and way smaller on the GMT. So that's not a configuration that I kept on the watch for long, because I felt with the spring bar sort of being loosey-goosey, not filling the hole properly, that this would eventually damage the holes of the case on the GMT or the end links or vice versa. You know, it's just not a good configuration to hold. It's not really built for that. So, you know, there's lots of strap options on the market, but unless I'm using the actual spring bars for it, I'm not really comfortable with that. So there's a lot of strap options out there that come with spring bars, and I don't like that just in general. So the Everest and Rubber B, they do offer rubber straps that, you know, you can put your own spring bars through. But see my other video for why I don't want to do any business with Rubber B. And Everest look fine. I'm not that enthused by the look anymore, quite frankly. So I have been looking a lot at the Tudor Ranger. I had been looking at the Tudor Ranger since release, and it's just been living rent-free in my head the entire time. And I was so close to pulling the trigger on it. I really do love it, but I think that there's just slightly too much negative space on that dial, that if it was like a 37mm or a 36mm of the same design, it's like I would buy it in a second. And I think with a smaller size, that the design elements on it would warrant that. The moment with such a simple design on such a bigger watch, it's only like, I think it's 39mm, so we're not talking gigantic, but it could just use a little bit of tightening up and it would make a perfect watch. And you know, when I purchase a watch, I'm really thinking about keeping it for life, honestly. I don't intend on selling anything. And I know that if a Ranger came out in a smaller size, that I would buy it. It's really that simple. I'd regret purchasing the bigger one. And I think Tudor will do that. I think they will. I mean, the fact that the Black Bay 54 exists, which I'm not even sure if anyone was really asking for that, but they're open to these smaller sizes. The possibility of a Ranger in a smaller size is a very real possibility. The only thing that would lead to us to not expect it is that, you know, the Ranger hasn't been a huge hit, so why invest in another variant of a model that hasn't been selling that well, you know? So that's the only thing. When this came out, I really liked the look of it, but it was only once I saw it in person, I just got those feelings that you get when you love something on first sight. Now, there's a lot of watches I look at that are very beautiful, not many that like hit me and just like, I gotta have this, I want this, you know, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. And that's what was just going through my head when I saw this in the case. And the fact that it was available and there, and look, I know Tudors, and this one in particular is not really sought after by other people, but I wanted it, I loved it. And so I bought it on the spot, basically, especially in comparison to the Pelagos 39. I got to see that side by side. And to me, the Pelagos line is really about this sort of utilitarian sort of focus, right? And I just kind of felt that the Pelagos 39 really should have just been called the Submariner or something like that, because it's sort of straddling the line between something flashy and shiny, and it was really the sunburst dial and the brushed ceramic of its shine that really, I was almost disgusted, honestly. Like that's my reaction to the Pelagos 39 in person. Like on paper, I'm like, oh, this is good. At one point I was like, ooh, I really want this watch. Yeah, this is better than a Submariner. But yeah, I was honestly disgusted. It's sort of, I don't know. It's sort of the feeling that people had when Porsche, you know, started announcing like things like their SUVs and stuff like that. It's just sort of like, ooh, you know, like why? Just like a Porsche SUV, I think the Pelagos 39 stands on its own as a completely perfect watch in its own right. So I'm not telling anyone to dislike it. It's just, for me, Pelagos represents something more than just a single watch. Well, at least now. And if it's going to represent something, it's going to be utilitarianism and no apologies, no compromises with respect to aesthetics. You know, it's just a utilitarian watch, and the Pelagos 39 is really outside of that. So that's, you know, I didn't even want to try it on. Like I had both of them take all of these out of the case to have a look at, and my SA was sort of like really shocked. I didn't even want to try it on. Like I really just hated that watch, loved this one, and that's where we are. So for the past 2 months, I've basically been wearing this the whole time. I've never wound it up since because it's just been on my wrist the whole time. And the timekeeping from this movement, which is found in a lot of other Tudor watches, you know, the P39 I think has the same movement, Black Bay 58, it's found in a lot of their stuff. It's a great movement. Over the course of the 2 months, it's now ahead by like 0.2 of a second over the course of 2 months. Now, looking at my measurements, it does go up and down, but that's where it is after 2 months. It's like, it's basically accurate. So it's a fantastic movement with really good power reserve. So there has been, you know, a weekend where I've put it down and then picked it up again. The movement's fantastic, it really is. It's a louder movement than, say, a Rolex movement, so you can hear it ticking when you put it to your ear, which is something my son likes to do. It's not a distraction in any way, but I'm not trying to say that this movement is, say, better than a Rolex movement or anything like that. I just want to say my experience with it, and in other Tudors, you know, my Black Bay 58, it's a solid movement. Now, as I said, I really wanted this to be sort of like my rugged hiking, camping watch. Normally you get a field watch for that. Yeah, I'm making a compromise with a diver, but you know what? The diver bezel is useful. It's very, very useful. One of the other things that I like doing is, yeah, I'll time like how long it takes to do a certain portion of a hike. That is actually useful. It's like 40 minutes in, it's going to take 40 minutes out, something like that. So I do actually time portions of my hike. So it isn't completely useless out of the water. And the other thing that I like doing is cooking. And cooking does require a bezel. Well, it doesn't require the bezel, but it is useful to have a bezel that does timing, you know, crude minutely timing. The only thing that I would slightly prefer is that if it was like the Rolex Yachtmaster where you could move the bezel the other way. So this unidirectional thing is useful for diving per se, but you know, in reality, it would be nice to actually be able to move the bezel forward instead of always backwards. That way, you know, when you're up to like this step in cooking where you've got 10 minutes to go and then another 10 minutes, is very easy to do that rather than winding it 50 minutes the other way. I find that the black goes well with just basically almost every single strap. The 22 millimeter lugs are, you know, very true. And they're quite wide, so you can fit some relatively thick straps through it. The official straps, they're very nice. Well, the black rubber one is, just put that one aside. It's ugly, it looks old, and it just collects dirt without, it's just not a looker. The green strap on the Velcro is very fetching. It is very nice. I just don't like that the Velcro, for me, I've got a small wrist, so it sort of is at the limit of the Velcros, you know, coming off the top of it. So I just don't like that much. And there's plenty of 22 millimeter NATO straps to go for. The other aspect, like especially compared to say the Pelagos 39, this is 42 millimeters and it's, you know, it's a bigger watch. It's thinner on the side, but of course you're putting a single pass strap through underneath. So the height is probably even taller than say the Pelagos 42, the original. And, you know, it's a taller watch, but you know what? I actually appreciate that. A lot of people are like, oh, it fits under the cuff, fits under the cuff. That's like a universal compliment. It's like, I actually like the option of having a watch that is able to hold your cuff up. Say in winter months, if it's able to hold up my hoodie and that it's always exposed, that's a little bit easier for me. Say, especially if it gets really cold. I don't like having to use my hands to move my glove out of the way and move the cuff up just so I can see the time. So I don't think being able to slip under the cuff is just a universal good. All right, I think that's all of my love for the FXD in one video. Yeah, what can I say? I really love this watch. I hope you enjoyed my take on 2 months of ownership. Please like and subscribe. If you like these kinds of videos, please subscribe. I live for that, but more importantly, comment. Even if you hate one of my takes, I love talking to you guys. Until next time, see you around.